Welcome to the Business Happy Hour radio show with your host, Frank the Bank Cotto, president of Lincoln Lending Group and 813 Mortgage for 20 years right here in Tampa Bay. Joined by his incredible co-hosts, Rosa Vahidi and Senia Akishina, top producing real estate agents with Mahara and Associates. These three bring nearly 5 decades of experience in the local real estate market. If you're looking for real estate or business advice, no matter what your experience level, the Business Happy Hour team has been there for you for almost a decade right here on News Radio WFLA. Now sit back, relax, and get ready for some serious real estate and business talk with 3 of Tampa Bay's top experts. Here's Frank the Bank.
Hey Tampa Bay, welcome to the Business Happy Hour, your number one show for all things business and entrepreneurial. I am your host, Frank the Bank Cotto, the owner of Lincoln Lending Group, 813mortgage.com. Contact Frank the Bank, reverseguru.com, whatever you guys are looking for. Woo! That's right, James. I've got all those crazy websites. It's a lot of fun. Next week, we're going to have an awesome guest. Rose and I are going to talk about it. We're going to have one of our closed clients right here from 970 WFLA learned about us on the Ryan Gorman show. And we just closed a reverse mortgage for Mr. Rick McGuire. So he's going to come on next week. That's going to be a great show. First time we've ever interviewed a client, I think.
Of our past clients on, so that'll be nice to have someone speak and hear all about their experience with you.
It will. So we'll do that, and then we need to get one of the ones that we closed together on, and just kind of talk about the whole real estate process, because I don't think a lot of people ever hear about that. They never get to hear everything. They just get bits and pieces. So maybe there's some first-time home buyers out there that just kind of want to know how it goes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. By the way, that's Rosa Vahidi over here, my amazing
everyone.
co-host. Hi, Rosa.
Hey, guys.
How we doing?
Great.
Sadly, Senia is out today, a little under the weather, even with weather coming. She could have waited for the hurricane,
waited a day or two.
I mean, come on, Senia. You could have gone a little longer here.
Yeah.
But we're happy to have a great guest. Rosa, you want to introduce our guest?
So we have Vinod. Can you pronounce your last name?
Somareddy.
Somareddy. I didn't want to say it the wrong way. I wanted to say summer day.
Aren't you ready for summer?
There's a lot of different variations of that.
Yes.
Name.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming, Vinod. We're excited to
welcome.
hear all about your business and your success and how you started 10 locations as well.
Yeah, this is going to be great. Vinod, I didn't get a chance to really talk too much with you before the show. A little craziness going on here. But I understand it's a physical and occupational therapy company, right?
Right.
Very good. So I actually have 2 of my very close friends are both, I'm going to butcher this. I'm going to have to text them while we're on the show or send it to them. I think they're occupational therapists. So one question that I'm going to ask after we get through some of our real estate stuff we do is, what the heck's the difference? Because and probably when you answer the question, I'll figure out which one they are. But I think I know what you do. And I think I've been trying to get a friend of mine to start a company just like yours. But we're going to talk about that on the Business Happy Hour. We always like to do real estate stats. So I obviously own a mortgage company, 813 Mortgage and Lincoln Lending Group. And Rosa and Senia both work for Mahara and Associates, amazing real estate agents. So we always like to talk a little bit about the market. And there's been a lot that's happened, Rosa, in the last week. And by the way, Vinod, you can chime in. You're a guest host today. You're actually sitting in the other host chair. So anything, listen, you don't have to agree either. You can look at both of us and be like, you're full of crap. And that's fine. If you have good stories, we like stories as well. And when you see me playing on the phone, I'm just sharing the stuff out so all of our listeners can see everything. But Rosa's filling in for Senia on the stats section today.
Yes. So I don't typically do the stats, but I did some research this morning. So I came up with some of our month supply today versus last year and the year before.
Okay.
So in September 2022, we were at 1.8 months supply of inventory. And then last year, this time, we were at 2.3 months of supply.
Okay, a little bit more.
And then now we are at 3.9 months worth of supply.
So what does that mean to the regular listener?
So that means that our supply of homes is increasing. So now I don't know where the demand is technically at, but that just means that we're shifting closer and closer to a more quote unquote normal market. So where we meet the equilibrium of 6 months of supply. And it's interesting to see that we are up so high now versus these past 2 years.
Yeah, it's I don't think people understand that the amount of homes available actually dictates the market, you know, and because if there's less homes, then we have more competition, right? And what I've been worried about is when these rates come down, which we're going to get to that, but when these rates come down even more, the concern is if you have this influx of buyers coming into the market, general rules of supply and demand. You have low supply, you have high demand, which means what's going to happen to prices? They're going to go up. Right? So all this thing about people thinking, oh, prices aren't going up, that's not happening. I don't. Do we have any stats on prices? I like your supply stat. I like how you went back to 2022. Actually,
yeah, I wanted to go even farther, but I figured just the past 2 years. And,
yeah. Well, what would be interesting? Maybe like next week or something. We'll put Cindy on the spot. Maybe we go back like 5 years, like get back to like pre-COVID.
I was looking at the graph of the chart of these months of supply over the past 20 years,
right.
And it was really interesting to see that too.
I'd love to talk about that. I mean, because I can't really say the last couple of years has been normal. Really, the last 4 years has not been normal, right? Vinod, do you own a lot of real estate or no?
Not here necessarily, but I do have a house here. So
yeah.
I was in that period of time in the last 4 years where we...
Did you buy in the last 4 years?
Yeah, we bought in 2021 and we built, so...
Okay, so you probably did okay if you built, right? I mean, you probably have some equity now, I would assume.
I hope so. I think so.
I think you do.
I think you do too.
Yeah, especially because you're over in the Bel Air area. So, I mean, that's a nice area. And they definitely... Actually, what we learned from Cinia last week was that let me ask Vinod this question. Okay, totally right. You're not in real estate, so this is a good question to ask you. If I was to ask you what sector of homes increased in value, sales price, right, Rosa, what it was, the most, and I said, would it be the homes between 300,000 and 700,000, or the homes over $1 million? What do you think appreciated the most in the last year or so?
I bet it's the ones over the $1 million.
Well, you bet right.
Yes.
Which my guess was no. I mean, because there's more transactions on the other side, and it's kind of rare to see those, but they did.
Yep.
And I'm wondering if it's just because, there's more money than people think going in the economy. And I hate to say, like, and this is going to sound negative, but like in certain times, rich get richer, right? And the other classes don't. And that could be the reason. I don't know. What's any thought on why?
I mean, it's a market where building houses in the last couple of years is probably a little difficult with COVID,
right?
And supplying of the supplies and the cost going up.
I would totally agree.
I could imagine that people don't want to wait 4 years for a brand new house.
Yeah.
They don't want to deal with the challenge that comes with their families and
the
moving.
Supply chain,
yeah,
and all that crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Like, did you have problems during because you built during COVID?
Yeah, a little bit. We had a great builder. He was
he was able to get everything on time and things. Okay.
Yeah. His name is Matt Warsing.
Shameless plug. Go for it.
You know what?
Warsing Construction. Absolutely. So he did a good job.
Yeah, he did a fantastic job. I mean, we were originally from New York, lived here. We were staying in a condo, so we looked for a long time,
right?
And we just couldn't find the right thing, which I think a lot of people ran into the same situation. The prices 100%. Went up, and then you're buying things that may not be happy with, and you do it anyway. And then I think there's people that are working remotely now that can live here, and you have the state income tax issue with
I think that was huge.
Yeah.
I think Rosa, what do you think? I think it was a lot of the people coming from the other northern states and coming with a lot of the money up there and coming working up there, right? Or working here remotely, not having to pay state income tax. Maybe they have more money.
A lot of people were selling their homes too that owned them for 20, 30 plus years in New York. I had a lot of clients around that time, and they were able to come here and buy beautiful homes in cash, and it was different for them. They were like, wow, this is, I'm getting so much for my dollar.
Yeah.
Is that still true? I mean, where in New York do you live?
So I don't have a place in New York, but my practices are throughout the tri-state area. So everything from New York City proper to all the way in Long Island. So
is it true still that the price of real estate is just so much more up there that they sell and they come down here with a bunch of money?
My experience from being and born in New York for pretty much, obviously all my life, except for the last few years living here, has been that the prices kind of stabilized more so because the market is pretty established in New York. You know what you're going to get in the city. There's a lot of... It isn't as opportunistic to rebuild. I mean, there's developments going out throughout Long Island as an example, which is about, 30 minutes from the city, 20 minutes from the city, all the way out to a couple hours, 2 hours from the points of the city outward. 2.5 hours. Yeah, it's big.
And people commute that far?
Yeah. I mean, if you want to have a bigger, nicer, brand new house and you can't buy one that's closer to the city, you're going to go out in the island and find something that's better for you and your family. So I think that market kind of is established a lot more. I think with Florida, with people coming over post-COVID and just the change in the political environment potentially for some people, they may choose to make that move. I've had a lot of friends come out of California as well.
Yeah.
And have cited those kind of things in terms of what they wanted to achieve with their families and their kids and their own lives. They could work remotely.
Yeah, it definitely changed the landscape. Now I'm seeing a lot of big companies saying people have to come back into the offices.
Right.
And you know why that's happening is because they're paying a lot of money for commercial leases, or they own these buildings. And that's been a big scare in commercial, is saying, is big commercial going to start taking a drop? And it has taken a little bit of a drop. I don't think it's fallen off a cliff, but you got to be pretty pissed off if you own a 1 million square foot building, right? And all your employees are at home right now. Yep. What are you going to do? Lease it to Publix? I don't know. But interesting you say the California thing too, because I would joke with Rosa and Senia that in the last 20 years, I could count on one hand the amount of people that came from New York or California, unless something very specific, maybe retirement, but California, no, because California is beautiful. Yeah. Right. So what you got beaches, you got weather, you got sunshine, you're just getting a different sunset. Right. So I don't know. I think it's a good thing that what COVID did, but prices are a little bit crazy. By the way, if you're interested and you're in the market, you got to reach out to Rosa and Senia. How do they do that?
813-755-REAL.
755-REAL, or they can go to
TheRealDealTampa.com.
I love it. TheRealDealTampa.com. We got a minute left in this segment. We will talk about Rick McGuire. We're having him on next week. It's going to be an interview with one of our closed reverse mortgage people. And when we get back from the break, we're going to learn a little bit more about Vinod Somareddy, right? I got that right?
Yep.
I'm ready for summer, right? No, I'm dressed like I'm in summer.
Sounds cooler the way you said it.
It does. I know. Summer ready. Cool. Summer ready. We're ready for summer. But you guys will have to check out readycare.net. That's REDDY care.net, REDDY care.net. We're going to learn what that is. He does physical and occupational therapy. I know Rosa's going to run with this here as soon as we
got
get
some questions for Vinod.
Yeah, and as soon as we get back, we are going to talk about what happened in the interest rates last week, because everybody's wondering, did they go down? And the answer might surprise you. So stay tuned to the Business Happy Hour with Rosa and Frank. We'll be back in just a minute. Perfect. 1 minute break. That was good. Yeah. Good first segment. Yeah.
You're so well spoken about it.
Yeah. I put you on the spot and you just took it, which was freaking awesome. That's what I love. I don't think you haven't experienced. We haven't had a bad guest with y'all yet. Yeah. But most everybody can talk. I did have one time I'll never forget, like freaking 5 years ago, and dude, the guy wouldn't even talk. And I can't remember. I think I was in there by myself with him. I didn't have anybody, and I can talk, but I'm just like, okay, like, dude, I'm asking. He was giving me like one word answers, and I'm like, okay, well, this is a total. And you can't be a dick when you're, the only other guy in the room. At least I can bounce off of you, But I'm like, thanks. Yeah. Right. Yeah, and then we're easy. I mean, we always do the real estate in the beginning, and like some shows it pushes, halfway into the show. But when we get back here, we'll just, because I definitely got, you know what I got to mention? I got a couple things I'll mention. A couple FSU and the Bucks win and loss and things like that. It's kind of interesting. You saw my video? Did you see the one that I deleted right away?
I saw one.
The one I had the eye patch on?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh my God. So,
I was like,
so actually, I'll say something about that. You can make fun of me. Make fun of me on that, because my wife called me like 20.
Now we're back with some serious real estate and business talk with three of Tampa Bay's top experts. Your host of the Business Happy Hour, Frank the Bank Cotto, Rosa Vahidi, and Senia Akishna.
I'll tell you what, guys, welcome back to the Business Happy Hour, your number one show for all things business and entrepreneurial. Rosa and I are having a good time on the break, and I got to give you a clue. You have to tune in on Instagram, and I've been putting it on Facebook as well, but our live is on Instagram every Tuesday from 12 to 1, maybe 12:10 to 1 o'clock is usually about a 50-minute show. But if you watch on Instagram, you get to hear us talk in the breaks, and I always forget that we're live in the breaks, and I say some dumb stuff sometimes, things that can't go on the air. And one time, you might get lucky, because one time I took a commercial bathroom break and I forgot and brought my phone with me. And I get all the way in there and I'm like, this thing's on live. That's funny. So anyway, let's talk real quick before we get into to business here, right? Couple cool things happened. One fun story. I went up to Tallahassee this weekend, and with a whole group of like 10 guys, we went to the Florida State game. Got to see them pull off their first win, which was awesome. I don't know if you can tell my eyes red if you're on the Instagram. I scratched my cornea.
So
late Friday.
your bruise.
Oh, so
your
okay.
black eye.
Okay, did you notice? You're the first one that's noticed that, by the way.
I wasn't going to say anything, but now that you brought up the red thing, I'm like, oh, okay.
So my right eye, I scratched at like 4 a.m, apparently, when I was going to bed or something like that. And that was the worst experience ever, going to the football game. And then we'll get into what you saw, which most people didn't see. My left eye, I opened a door into my face walking through the halls, and I was not drunk, okay? I have 2 doors back to back, and I didn't realize one was open, and I literally walked into it. I fell on my butt, and I'm like, dude, that's going to leave a mark. I'm just happy that I didn't get one of those boxer's cuts right there. And, But anyway, Rosa, you're the first person to call me out.
Do you want to hear what I thought happened?
What did you think happened?
I thought you were at these football games all weekend, and you got in a fist fight or something.
Listen, I probably would have come out better, because a scratched cornea, I will take 3 black eyes over a scratched cornea. It is horrendous. So today's the first day I put a contact in, and my glasses are like 10 years old, so I can't even see. So I'm over here. My vision is still blurry while it's healing. I'm like, eh. Anyway, Florida State, good job on your win this weekend. Took down Cali. Thank God. I mean, to start 0-4. And that's where I went to school, so that kind of mattered. But and then the Bucks. What's wrong with you guys? You totally screwed the pooch this last weekend. But hopefully, if you guys are listening on Sunday morning, we're playing the Eagles at 1 o'clock. So get ready. That's going to be a great, great game. Rosa.
Okay, so Frank.
Yeah.
So, all over social media and the news, I'm guessing, is that we had a rate cut.
Right.
And people are saying in advertising, mortgage rate cut.
Right.
What actually happened?
All right, but I don't know if you know what really happened or not. So he just told us in the break, he's like, I'm getting some education. You're going to get some serious education right now. So last Thursday, was it Thursday or was it Wednesday?
Wednesday, I think.
The Fed dropped the rate by 0.5 point. First non-emergency cut of 0.5 point that we have seen in history, okay? Everybody and their mothers was waiting for this, because they're like, the rates are going down. The rate just got cut 0.5%. I can't tell you how many customers called us and said, what did my rate go to? Is it 0.5 point lower? The answer is no. Your rate is not 0.5 point lower unless it's on your home equity line of credit or your credit card. Those are the rates that are affected by the prime rate index, okay? So yes, they did drop those. Yes, if your credit card rate went down by 0.5 point. So if you're 29%, you're now at 28.5%. Woohoo! And if you have a home equity line of credit, the prime rate was 8.5. Now it's 8. Here's the weird thing that happened. All the 30-year fixed rates went up, right?
Oh, yeah.
They went up. Now, not a lot, maybe like 1/8 or 1/4. And everybody's like, why is my 30-year fixed rate going up? And not may understand this, but you know how, like, you ever heard when they say the news is already baked in, like the stock market, they're like, oh, all these earnings reports come out, but it doesn't do anything. It's because it was expected. And the whole country, I mean, the Fed all but said we're lowering rates. It's a guarantee. We just didn't know if it'd be 1/4 or 1/2. But a lot of people thought it was going to be 1/2. So they had dropped the rates over the last week before the rate cut. Fannie, Freddie, FHA, VA already dropped the rates. So when the rate cut happened, it was expected. And so the market actually, you could say, kind of stabilized. It went up a little bit. Good news is, I'll try to Google this really, really quick. The Google 30-year fixed rates, actually I already looked this morning. I'll just tell you, they say 6.8% for a 30-year fixed. They say 6.25 for a government, okay, like FHA or VA. We can still lock 4.99 FHA and VA. So as a wholesale lender, we are still much lower. Go to contactfrankthebank.com to learn about that. Or if you're just in the market for a house, just go to the Real Deal
Tampa.com.
That's it. And then you can talk to Rosa first, then you can talk to us. But your conventional rates are in the mid-5s, right? If you don't want to pay any points at all, you'll probably be in the high 5s, low 6s. But bottom line is, rates are still great. But what it did was it brought an influx of buyers in. And that's kind of what I want to see, because I want to see activity. I want to see more people out there buying houses. And you just told us that we have more stats. I mean, not stats.
Supply. But I do have more stats.
You have more stats? Yeah. But we have more supply, which more supply is a good thing. It balances the market out. And now it's not heavy for the buyers or the sellers. It's kind of equal on both sides. If we get to 6 months, it's going to be extremely equal. So for right now, I still think you need to get out there and buy. If you're a buyer, I mean, are you seeing a little more activity?
Yeah, so I was going to tell you, so For Pinellas County residential single-family homes, there is 11,849 homes available on the market right now, and that's just single-family homes.
Right.
And then it's close to $8 billion worth of what we have available in Pinellas County.
$8 billion available to buy right now in Pinellas County.
And the average sale price for active inventory is $660,000.
Wow. Okay. So that's I like that. So the price, you don't have Hillsborough, do you?
I only focused on Pinellas
That's
today.
okay. It's okay. And Pinellas, watch out for your hurricane coming through. Hopefully it's not a bad storm. Looks like it's going more toward Tallahassee, so maybe it cleans out all the losses for the Florida State Seminoles. Anyway, oh Lord. So those are great stats. We do think you should get in the market. The rates are still low, and when there is more supply or more buyers, you're going to have less chance of getting a good deal. So you do need to take advantage of that. When we get back, we're going to learn about ReadyCare.net, REDDY care.net. It's owned by Vinod Somareddy.
Perfect.
I love it. I'm nailing this today.
Good job.
You should see how long it took me to learn Akishina and Vahidi.
But now he knows them by heart.
Now I got this one. Yeah, easy. But anyway, we'll learn more about you. I want to talk about my buddy of mine who I think is in the business. So we're going to find out what you do and how you started your business here on the Business Happy Hour. Awesome. And don't forget, go to
TheRealDealTampa.com.
That's it, TheRealDealTampa.com. And next week, we're going to have Richard McGuire just closed his reverse mortgage with us and tell us how he did it, why he did it, and how it helped him out. And if you're interested in a reverse mortgage, my friend Ryan Gorman and I are really pushing this out here right now for all you listeners. I want you to go to reverseguru.com. That's reverseguru.com. That's where you can learn all about reverse mortgages and how it could benefit you and your family. And you do need to be 55 and up to qualify for a reverse mortgage, not 62. That's more education we just gave you here on the Business Happy Hour. Stay tuned. We'll be back with Rosa Vahidi, and Frank Cotto. I know, still learning the name. I got to run to the bathroom this time. All right. Trying to drink my gallon of water and be a good boy. Brad Dement is the co-host, and he's with Greenleaf Title. What would Mary think of that? I'm also considering just doing Zoom. So I got friggin' all this people blowing me up over here because of the event we have for tomorrow. With like literally 70 people RSVP'd. That's right, Instagram. We're having to reschedule our event tomorrow with 70 people who have RSVP'd. I don't think people are going to show up even if I didn't. Did you just go get coffee? You are the best co-host ever. No. I don't want it. No.
Then I was like, you're hyped up.
I just stopped shaking like 20 minutes ago. Right?
Like, you probably are good.
Oh, I had a 10 o'clock coffee meeting. Yeah, you're trying to get all shaky. All right, we'll get this thing turned on and we'll get back on the air. And then Rosa, this is going to be your show, and I'm just going to be chiming in. You know, I don't shut up. So.
Yeah, I'll try.
Welcome to the Business Happy Hour radio show with your host, Frank the Bank Cotto, president of Lincoln Lending Group and 813 Mortgage for 20 years right here in Tampa Bay. Joined by his incredible co-hosts, Rosa Vahidi and Senia Akishina, top producing real estate agents with Mahara and Associates. These three bring nearly 5 decades of experience in the local real estate market. If you're looking for real estate or business advice, no matter what your experience level, the Business Happy Hour team has been there for you for almost a decade right here on News Radio WFLA. Now sit back, relax, and get ready for some serious real estate and business talk with 3 of Tampa Bay's top experts. Here's Frank the Bank.
Hey, Tampa Bay, welcome back to the Business Happy Hour, your number one show for all things business and entrepreneurial. Rosa Vahidi of Mahara and Associates brought in an amazing guest today. It's Vinod Somareddy with Ready Care Physical and Occupational Therapy, and the website is readycare.net. Very easy, REDDYCARE.net. And we're going to learn what exactly Vinod does, and then I'm sure I'm going to have a few questions. Let's go, Rosa.
Okay. All right. So first, I want to know, how long have you been in business?
Well, first, I just want to say thank you for you guys having me.
Yeah.
It was really cool. Nice opportunity.
Yeah,
for me
thank
to
you so much
share
for
my
coming.
background. I've been in business for 20 years. We started in 2003. So when I graduated physical therapy school, it was 2001. So it was 2 years right into business. So that was a little bit of a, I wouldn't say a challenge. But
That's exactly when I founded my company, too.
Really?
2003.
Wait,
Wow, that's
how old
cool.
are you, if you don't mind me asking?
So I'll be 49 in December.
Okay.
All right. I'll
And
be
you're
46 in January. Yeah.
Wow.
So we're free. We're right
But
there.
yeah.
Yeah, you started before me, so you had, you got rolling pretty quick.
I guess. It's probably similar. I mean, did you do something similar in the business before you started?
No, I mean, the track for a physical therapist usually is when you finish school, you work for another, company and so forth, and that's generally the way it goes.
Right.
The circumstances for me were a little different at the time, and the field too. So just got an opportunity to kind of move forward with it, and I jumped at it, which was good ultimately.
So are you a licensed physical therapist
Yes.
yourself?
Yes.
Okay. So that's
Yeah.
what you're saying. The path is like you get out, you go work for somebody, but you're like, I'm going to get out and I'm going to be the guy who employs the physical therapist. Is that kind of?
Well, I think, in all honesty, I never thought about employing anybody. I was hoping to get people in the door to see me, and that was a challenge in terms of just feeling confident about yourself as a therapist.
Right.
Because a lot of times, you're out of school fresh, you take a bunch of courses. I had some fortunality. I had some great mentors that showed me a lot of things, and I, like anything else, really committed. I feel like it was a 24/7 thing. I mean, I slept,
Yeah.
and everything else was just my business or PT from day one. So I really just grinded hard and learning.
So you opened you basically, you're saying you did not go to work for somebody. You're like, I'm going to go get my own clients from day one.
Well, it was 2 years.
Okay.
Post school,
All right.
post my my graduation.
So you did work for somebody for a short
Yeah,
time.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
But even during that time, I was really committed to learning my skill as a professional clinician therapist.
Right.
And during that period of time, you have to make quite good decisions, to really have the right things you learn to treat patients. Because what are they going to see? What are they going to do if they come see you and they don't get better, right? They're not going to come.
So it was a lot of pressure at that time,
It's a
especially
lot of pressure.
in the beginning.
The first decade was a lot of that kind of pressure, which is have a business, keep it going, try to learn more, deliver better than the guy who's been in practice for 30 years doing well.
Right.
And obviously the next 10 years and you get that going is a different sort of element.
Yeah.
So what do you think separated yourself from the competition in that first 5 to 10 years?
Great question.
Yeah. Well, I had learned a technique from a group out. It was called the Jones Institute. It was a technique called strain counter strain. I don't want to confuse people, but essentially it's a technique that you use with they call it manual therapy, where you're using your hands and you're finding different sort of regions of pain and dysfunction, and through that process you fix people, which is a big problem. If you go to a therapist and you don't get better and you have pain, it's pretty brutal for anybody. So I was able to learn that technique, and I just went, 24/7 on it. And I started seeing patients, and they started telling me, wow, nobody's ever treated me like this, and I've never gotten these kind of results. I mean, that's not for everybody, but it was enough people that I think.
So was it kind of a niche? Is that what I'm hearing?
I would say in that period of time, it definitely was. Where therapy groups are using more of traditional physical therapy modalities, which involves a lot of exercise, some hands-on techniques. People kind of will say the word massage. It's not massage.
Okay.
But
we can't sign up. Sorry.
Yeah. And it's not like chiropractic either, where we're not cracking bones. There's a whole slew of in between where you learn different techniques to really move the nerves and the muscles and the bones and find areas of dysfunction. So, traditionally they were using that less and more of an exercise philosophy to rehabilitate people, which makes a ton of sense. There's nothing wrong with
mobility,
that.
right? Just get them moving.
Exactly. And, you hear that in sports and all that. But there was definitely a direction I took that was more toward, okay, you know what? That's good and fine. People are doing that. That's easier than spending, I don't know, hundreds of hours learning these particular techniques. And it racks your brain a little bit, And you got to know if you're going to apply a particular technique, like anything else, like fixing a computer or whatever you want to call it, you got to know that it's pretty much going to move the needle. And if it doesn't, then you're wasting the patient's time.
Right.
And you could be just giving them those exercises, right, that everybody else is doing, right? So it's a risk.
Was there any negative to this technique?
Generally speaking, physical therapy is not a negative field at all. There's minimal legal malpractice. You're not using invasive equipment and so forth.
Right.
And a lot of the techniques don't involve cracking necks and so forth, although although there's nothing wrong with that at all. I mean,
it's still scary. I mean, it's still when you go to the chiropractor, you're like, what? This thing cracks? What if it goes one step further? I've seen enough Steven Seagal movies to know, all I got to do is go like this, right? And anyway, I won't tell.
I think the way that guy hits is definitely going to hurt somebody regardless of
right.
But chiropractic, just to make a comment on the chiropractors, because there's a tremendous amount of great colleagues and people out there doing that the research has supported that it's not going to create a bad effect, but with high velocity manipulation and so forth.
Right.
And some physical therapists actually do it as well. So, that's a good part of an intervention that can be done. But anyway, I didn't go to that route in that time to use that technique, So, and it's very advanced. So.
This might be a stupid question, but what is the difference in physical and occupational therapy?
So there is a difference. Both involve rehabilitation and improvement of function and so forth. Physical therapy for the general public will work on more gross motor activities, compound movements like sit to stand. They'll work on bigger, broader functional limitations as a physical therapy in general, right?
Walking.
Okay.
I'm like thinking general walking.
Yeah.
Standing. Okay.
And occupational therapists are a little more specifically refined in how they look at their function for people. It could go anywhere from tying buttons on a shirt all the way through the check writing, and cognitive issues. And a lot of times you see occupational therapists in the space of geriatric care and pediatric care.
All right, Rosa, so we're going to put this into a real estate perspective.
Okay, yeah, we're going to turn it.
Physical therapy is when they get on Zillow and just look for crap. And occupational is when they actually call you and they actually find something specific.
Yes.
That was close.
That makes sense.
I probably butchered it. But I like that. I've literally never known the difference between the two. So one just gets more specific and focuses on the smaller movements and the more acute movement, or I don't know, direct, whatever the right word is for that.
There's a lot of overlap on it, and obviously if a patient's coming in for PT, you don't want to do that kind of thing with OT and vice versa, right? You want to find what the limitations are for the discipline that's providing that service and address it, right? So ultimately you want the patient to get functional gains, and sometimes it's a two-approach system where you need both. So I think that there's a benefit of that. Physical therapy is a lot more well-known, obviously, than occupational therapy, but they complement each other very well. And, we have tremendous occupational therapists that make such broad differences in patients' lives. And we have physical therapists that do the same thing. They work on finer motor detail.
So it's two different clients.
Well, it could be the same client.
Right.
It's two different disciplines. They go to school for obviously separate things, but, they do overlap a lot. And the best way of doing it is to have, if the patient needs it, of course, if you go to a physical therapist and he sees you 5 or 6 times and he fixes your issues and there's no indication for occupational therapy, then you don't need it,
Right.
But sometimes a patient will say, hey, you know what, I have a problem with this and that, and who's better at doing that? Well, maybe it's the PT, maybe it's the OT, right? So those are the terms that we use for PT and physical therapy and occupational
Certified occupational therapist, I assume, COT. I mean,
Yeah.
I made that up.
The funny thing, Frank, is that not the funny thing, but it's we have doctorates in the field. So it's a high level education, and there's a skill that gets certified through the boards in the states that are and acknowledged by the federal, CMS, which is Medicare, which is the federal government's payment for seniors. It's all recognized as that through that, but it's a doctoring field. So a lot of these guys have this autonomy to make their decisions.
Autonomous doctors. So how many practices do you have?
So we have 10 locations.
Okay.
That's half the business. And the other half of the business, we deliver services to patients, physical therapy and occupationally in the home.
Okay, so that's what my friends down here do. They go to nursing homes, assisted livings, and go in home, and they do these personal appointments.
Yeah.
And I know that they are one of the two. I think they're physical therapists.
So now you have a little bit of more understanding.
Yeah.
And
Well, now
so you can talk with them.
it's a husband and wife team. And they do the other path, the one where you just went and worked for somebody. And I keep looking at them, and I'm like, guys, everybody loves them. They basically are running a business without running a business, because they get requested all the time, probably like the way you were.
Yeah.
But they've been doing this for like 25 years. And I'm like, why would you not just go get a team? I mean, is it any advice for them, or is it scary? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I think anything like, Frank, and Rosa too, opening a business has a lot of risks,
right?
In terms of capital risk, in terms of, practice risk, compliance risk, getting it going. It's about the effort. You have family and you have kids and you're working all night long. I mean, it's something, there's a sacrifice there. The main thing I think is some of the insurance contracts don't give, depending on where you're located, they may not give you a chance to get a contract. And if you do get a contract, it may be not a good financial contract. So now you look at the numbers, you say, man, it's better for me just to work for somebody else because the hospital or whoever else is getting better numbers, better financial contracts.
Yeah.
So that's a big factor. And then, running a business, like having to employ people, the HR, people quit and you got to hire them, and who's you hire?
That's his favorite. Vinod loves that.
I was like, then I'm sending him to the doctor, because that is like my least favorite part of running the business as well. It's called herding cats and babysitting. We got to take a quick break. We're going to be back in just a second with Vinod Somareddy with Ready Care Physical and Occupational Therapy. Stand by. All right, fine.
Now we're back with some serious real estate and business talk with three of Tampa Bay's top experts. Your host of the Business Happy Hour, Frank the Bank Cotto, Rosa Fahidi, and Senia Akishna.
Hey, Tampa Bay. Welcome back to the Business Happy Hour. We're having a great show. It's been a long time since we had a straight business guest on the show, and I learned a lot today. I'm going to be calling my friends Jimmy and Courtney later and being like, I know what you guys do, finally. For 25 years we've been friends, and I didn't really quite understand what they did. But physical and occupational therapy is what we're talking about today with Vinod Somareddy. He's the owner of Ready Care Physical and Occupational Therapy, 10 locations, all in New York. Is that right?
Yeah.
all in New York. So, hey, next time you snowbirds go home, you got a place to do this. Maybe we can talk Vinod into doing a business down here, and we are definitely going to talk because my friends could totally do it, and they could probably use your help. So,
yeah, I'd love to help.
Franchise anybody? Yeah, he's like, maybe.
Game on.
Do you do franchises already?
We don't, but I mean, it's being done, so it's an option.
I love this idea. Let's see. And at the end of the show, we're going to do the business tip of the week. Guys, if you've been a longtime listener to the Business Happy Hour, you know that we used to do the business tip every single week without fail. Rosa and I are starting it right back here with Vinod Somareddy. By the way, his website is readycare.net. That's spelled REDDY care.net. So check that out. Rosa, take it away.
All right. So what first inspired you to start your business, and how did you grow it to 10 offices?
Yeah, I think the passion for what I do is very, 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 very strong. I knew when I was in the 10th grade I wanted to be a physical therapist. I had no doubt. It was like I was hungry like
Well, you had to have a friend or family member that did it, right?
No, my parents are both nurses, so there was an inclination toward being in healthcare. My dad wanted me to be a physician, an MD, and although I considered it, I felt like, the more interactive with sports. I played sports for all my life, baseball particularly.
Okay, I was going to ask you baseball. Okay.
And although I didn't get hurt during the process, I had enough hamstring pulls that I kind of was like, I'm really interested in why this is happening. And, obviously with physical therapy, it's a great opportunity to work with different people, athletes, all the way to just average people. And when I saw that, I was like, man, this is incredible. Like I can work with, a mother who just had a baby. I could work with a young kid. I could work with a senior. I could work with sports. So it was really just a no-brainer just to kind of get passionate about it.
Yeah.
So do you have any famous clients?
That you're allowed to tell us? You don't have to tell us.
You don't have
their
to
name.
tell us their names.
Just tell us if they're famous.
Yeah, I've had famous clients for sure. And in New York, you get famous clients and their cohorts or their people that work with them. A lot of those.
The entourage.
Yeah, and I've gotten offered to treat somebody who's pretty big time famous still, very, very notable individual in the self-help space. So
nice.
First name starts with a T, last name starts with a R, so you can figure that out.
Okay.
Oh.
Do you have an idea?
Teddy Roosevelt? That's a good one. He's not quite that old.
Yeah, but I'm like,
You're like, who else could that be?
His brother.
I'm trying to think. It's going to come to me later.
Okay. If you think of it, let us know.
I will.
So I have another question. After getting to know you more and more, I have to say you seem quite humble. And I'm curious, how do you stay so humble? Because I have a feeling you're highly successful.
I thank you for that. That's nice to hear. It's just the grind of every day. It's the challenges of growing a business. If you don't elevate your needs or your level of necessity, and others don't do that to you, you become complacent, and the challenges reduce. And as that goes down, your game just becomes reduced. So I think that's been a big factor for me, dealing with individuals. We're in a very caring field, so providing, more than you're forced to be more focused on patient care and delivery, on what means a lot to not just the patient, but to the person delivering it, which is the therapist. So if you're thinking like, you're all that and you're delivering this very good care and you're hiring people to do so, it just doesn't fit the model. Right, it doesn't fit the way it's supposed to be. You should be humble, and you should be more interested in the finer details of how you can deliver the best and most appropriate care for that patient at that time, for what their needs are, and also support your therapist, because they're the ones planning, thinking, spending their effort, their time to really do their best. And they could work anywhere and they can do anything. So you have to think about it that way. So I feel like that's been very helpful for me, just to know, never ever get out of my lane on that piece.
I love that. So I was going to ask you something else, and I just forgot. Do you have any questions, Frank, that you could think of?
I mean, I'm totally going to talk to him about franchising, and I'm just excited about the profession. I mean, it's so close to me with my friends, and I think you took the right path. I think it was like when I started my business in the same year as you did in 2003, I had a couple partners. Did you have partners?
No, I don't have any partners.
So you did it right. But I know by having the partners and starting a business and similar businesses in the sense, we need employees and we need people to help do what we do, but we also do it ourselves and get our hands dirty. I learned how hard it was, but at least I had two partners for the first few years. So I know what you went through, and to do it by yourself, there's a beauty to making all the decisions on your own, which I learned after I bought my partners out. And that's why I said I'd never have partners again, at least not in that type of capacity. But I think you did it right. And I really commend you for it. And I know you struggled and went through it, but there's an old saying, I think it's like, if your business makes it 5 years, you're going to survive. You make it 10, you're pretty much guaranteed. 20, we're done. You know what I mean? It's just, the question is, actually, here's a question before I have you do the business tip of the week. Have you ever thought about selling your business, or are you just going to keep growing?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
I will stand corrected. I do have a partner in my occupational therapy side of the business. We have to keep them separate, and her name is Connie, and she's amazing. So
all right. Shout out to Connie.
Yep. She'll listen to this, I'm sure.
Yes.
Physical therapy is a very good business in terms of liability purposes, and it's scalable. So, like, I've scaled my business from 1 location to 10. The interest in buying a practice is quite high. The reason I would sell, if I were to sell, is just to give my staff and others a better opportunity to grow, right? Because, there is some challenges with growth, as you guys can imagine. So, we want to make sure that we do the right thing there. But all intents and purposes, I've had it all along, and we're still one of the large size clinics companies in New York, still doing it privately. So I intend on keeping it that way and moving it forward.
I think that turned into our business tip of the week. And I think that's a good one, because the high-level business owners want to hear things like that. And although I've had offers to sell the company as well, I think I enjoyed something like you do. It's the growth, it's the excitement, it's able to help other people out. And I also love what you said at the end, and I'm probably putting words in your mouth, but it sounds like you like the benefit. You can help your employees, and you can allow them to grow, and maybe eventually they can buy one. But what we're going to do here is franchise, and I'm going to talk to Vinod Somareddy about that. Thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you, Vinod.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for listening,
Yeah,
everyone.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. It's been a great show. And don't forget, guys, readycare.net. Check them out. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, guys.
You're welcome. All right. Thanks, James. We got it.